Good evening. Thank you all for being here. I will be presenting the key elements and recommendations for the revised draft fiscal year 25-26 budget with the goal of providing a comprehensive overview while prioritizing transparency and fiscal responsibility. The presentation has been structured to offer insights into our current financial status, potential challenges, and strategies to achieve a balanced budget. The presentation will take approximately 20 minutes, and afterwards there will be an opportunity for questions and discussion. So with that, let's get started. The presentation topics will include the budget process used to date, the approach to the general fiscal year 25-26 budget, an introduction of the revised budget, an organization chart, the recommendations from the Budget Ad Hoc Committee, and finally, the discussion and direction that we're going to be looking for from Council. Initial budget discussions were introduced at the March 25th Council meeting, and there were additional discussions at 5 later meetings. However, draft figures and detailed staff presentations were either limited or absent. There was a special budget focus meeting that was held on May 3rd. However, neither the city manager nor the finance manager attended. On June 27th, Council approved Continuing Resolution 1237, which extended the 24-25 budget for a 60-day period pending the draft presentation of the fiscal year budget. On July 3rd, the draft budget was submitted and Council provided guidance for fiscal adjustments. On August 26th, a second continuing resolution was approved, which extended for another 60-day period, and they also formed an ad hoc budget committee. On October 28th, a third extension was approved through a continuing resolution awaiting key financial data from the city's accountant to finalize the presentation. Traditionally, the draft budget is presented to Council during the spring months. This year, the draft budget was received July 3rd. The draft budget used fiscal year 24-25 using projected actuals ending April 30th with an assumption of a 1% growth rate that was applied to certain revenues. An ad hoc committee was appointed at the August 26th meeting and met several times with staff to review line items, address concerns, and approve of accuracy. This revised budget uses projected actuals based through June 30th of 2025, resulting in some differences just based on the revised revenues and expenditures that were received in May and June. This accounts for most of the general ledger adjustments in the budgetary figures from the July version that was presented to Council. To improve transparency and understanding, staff will present a revised budget format layout by fund and department along with specific general ledger information instead of the grouped references. The revisions to the budget also included costs for the city manager recruitment services, settlement cost related to the previous city manager separation, which was paid out over the fiscal year 24-25 and 25-26, a revised salary adjustment for the city manager, an $80,000 FRMS payment obligation, which is proposed to be spread out over 18 months, which would be $40,000 per fiscal year, a shift to $75,000 from legal cost related to the housing element number 6 into planning for housing element number 7 planning. The recommended shifting of projected costs from legal to planning is due to the tentative memorandum of understanding with the California Department of Housing and Community Development and the city's avoidance of further legal costs associated with housing element number 6. There are also minor reductions to the Park and Recreations Department budget and legal and county costs that are associated with holding a special election for the recall efforts. The city's total projected revenues are approximately $2,712,825. This total includes proprietary, general funds, special use, and the dental vision fund. Proprietary funds are represented by the water and sewer funds, and proprietary funds are rate supported and they are used specifically to support water and sewer services. General funds are the source of funding for the primary operations of the city, providing flexibility to provide a wide range of services. General funds are expended at the discretion of both the state mandates as well as council discretion and priorities. Special use funds are designated for specific purposes such as the solid waste and transportation projects, and expenditures of those funds are typically restricted to their designated areas. There are also some additional funds which are in various specialized accounts for specific financial activities such as the Dental and Vision Fund. The general fund accounts for approximately 38% of the city's total income, amounting to $1,041,000. The major revenue fund sources are derived from property and sales taxes, which is the largest share at 34%, fees from park and recreations, which makes up 18% of the revenue, and state and county grants, and that comprises approximately 17% of the general fund. Unlike proprietary funds, again, such as the water and sewer, general fund revenues are allocated at the discretion of the city council, and that provides flexibility to fund the various programs and services. And rate and fee adjustments are periodically necessary in order to ensure that costs are covered and that they maintain the financial stability of the budget. Total estimated expenditures are approximately $2,919,365. These projections are primarily based on prior year expenses, with some adjustments for anticipated programs or projects. The preliminary projected deficit stands at approximately $206,541. Because projected expenditures are developed primarily based on prior year expenses, some occasional adjustment for anticipated expenditures, programs, and projects. The primary limitation of this approach is that projected expenditures are based on past expenses, which may or may not account for unexpected changes or new priorities. This can lead to underfunding of emerging needs or overestimating future costs, reducing the overall accuracy and flexibility of the budget. As we review the budget, I want to highlight that the current situation is influenced by a variety of factors that are beyond the immediate City Council's control. And those include prior practices of relying on prior year expenditures, infrequent updates to program fees, and broader economic uncertainties like federal funding changes and trade policies which are affecting the city's sales tax revenue. Addressing these challenges are going to require a collaborative approach. Staff is focused on identifying solutions, whether through expenditure adjustments, revenue strategies, or fee updates, in order to ensure a balanced and sustainable budget. Your guidance is going to be essential as we work towards finalizing a budget that is going to meet the City of Blue Lakes and community's needs. Looking a little closer at general fund expenditures, general fund expenditures are $1,211,902, with allocations spread out and supporting city department activities. For example, Department 180, which is the general government, represents 26% of the expenditures, followed by the Recreations Department at 23% and Park Facilities at 15%. Public Works at 11% and Planning at 10%, and the remaining of the departments are represented at less than 4% of the total expenditures. The current budget format has been used consistently for approximately the last decade. Each sheet represents a different fund balance with totals listed accordingly. Many expenditures are grouped, which makes the budget easier to prepare, but has some notable drawbacks. There's a lack of an overall summary. There is no single consolidated statement of revenue, expenditures, or priorities that are stated for the upcoming year. The multi-page layout with group line items makes it difficult to clearly understand the organization's overall operations, projects, and financial health. And the current format lacks a multi-year budget or forecasting, limiting the ability to take proactive steps towards anticipated future financial conditions. Presented this evening is a revised budget format developed to provide a clearer view of the big picture while allowing for detailed department-level reviews. Each line item will have a reference number. Please use these numbers for inquiries to facilitate quick follow-up during discussions, and you'll note that those are located on the left and far right side of the sheets. There is consistent referencing. The layout includes references to the general ledger number, account name, and the department fund, which are all aligned with the city's accounting system and the financial report formats. Under the general fund, revenues are organized by department with totals for each department clearly indicated here with the highlighted yellow arrows. The figures shown here with the yellow circles represent the fiscal year 24-25 actuals ending June 30th of 2025, which enables a comparison with the proposed 25-26 budget. There is also a percentage change between the historic and the proposed figures, and that percentage change is displayed to help review and analyze budget shifts and facilitate questions or clarifications. For a closer look, this is the general fund, referred here as Fund 10. Total revenue and expenditures by department are summarized, and here you will see that the revenue is identified at $1,041,254, and the expenses equate to $1,211,902, resulting in a negative balance of $170,000. This fund summarizes special funds 25 through 44. And the fund revenues totals $410,435, with projected expenses at $355,033, leaving a total balance of $55,000. For the water operating fund, revenues were estimated at $597,426. And projected expenses are $727,540. This results in a negative balance of approximately $130,000. For some historic context, the fiscal year 24-25 budget for the water operating fund was also negative, totaling $79,000 in its preliminary state. The projected increase in the deficit includes an additional $30,000 that's been allocated for system repairs based on prior year expenditures as well. With the sewer operating fund, revenues are estimated at $593,408, and expenses are projected at $604,695. A deficit of approximately $11,000, which makes this the first time the sewer fund is expected to operate at a small loss. A key factor of this deficit is partly due to an anticipated annual loss of $75,000, which is related to the installation of a wastewater effluent meter by the Blue Lake Rancheria. For the dental, vision, and funds, revenues are anticipated at $7,800 and expenses are estimated at $8,610,000, leaving a negative balance of approximately $810. This is a self-funded account with revenue which is generated through payroll deductions from employees. Expenses are based on employee utilization of dental and vision services and the submission of those claims for reimbursement. This approach illustrates one of the weaknesses of relying on prior year expenditures as the base for budget development. It may be that we will see a reduction of claims that are submitted because of services that have already been rendered, no longer necessitating the same degree of expenditure by employees for dental or vision work. The city employs 10 full-time employees. Additionally, there are 5 regular part-time employees. The team also includes several seasonal type recreational specialist employees and a temporary office assistant who typically works once a year, primarily related to the annual auto show. The recreational specialist roles are dependent upon the programs that are undertaken by the Recreations Department. The city does not currently have an official organization chart. However, a new version has been prepared for you. This chart differs from the typical public agency organization charts because it includes references to key consultants that are integral to the city's services. Specifically, you're looking at a contract with a accounting consultant for the finance department and a city engineer and planner under the Public Works umbrella, as well as general counsel. With respect to law enforcement and animal control, the city has an agreement with the Humboldt County Sheriff's Office to perform policing activities and animal control services. This chart illustrates how staff time is distributed across the various services, projects, and programs within the city. Unlike the traditional organizational chart with neat static boxes, this view provides a more accurate picture of where staff is spending their time. The Water and Sewer Division consumes approximately 50% of the total staff time, with the remaining hours primarily dedicated to either the Park and Recreations departments and the general city services. The city's total salary and compensation costs are estimated at $1,045,000. Sharp eyes may denote a discrepancy in health insurance costs between the fiscal year 25-26 budget sheet, which is included in your packet, and the amount shown here. The difference is primarily due to the FRMS payment obligation, which is an estimated $40,000 out of this fiscal year, combined with the standing amount for projected health insurance cost. Personnel costs represent approximately 38% of the overall budget, and this percentage is within the acceptable range for public agencies, where the average personnel cost is approximately 41% of the budget. To address the anticipated deficit of $206,541,000 deficit and work towards a balanced budget, several steps are essential. The city needs to develop a transparent budgeting process to improve clarity and accountability. Ensure that the city prioritizes cost reductions and eliminates unnecessary expenditures. Identify and pursue revenue-generating opportunities. To collaborate with staff to improve expenditure controls. Prioritize essential programs and projects to the maximum impact. To regularly review financial policies and internal controls and maintain consistent financial oversight and review through regular. There are a number of recommendations for budget and financial management which are being recommended, and they've been broken up into immediate actions and some longer term actions. First is the implementation of pre-authorization of all expenditures, and this is a practice which was implemented a little over 2 weeks ago. We recommend that all printing be done in black and white to reduce cost, as color printing has been significantly more expensive. to strive for cost recovery by updating fee structures, specifically updating the water and sewer rate study, adjust building permit fees. The last update was performed in 2011. To revise the park and recreation fees, including facility rentals, special events, business permits, and animal licenses. To consider suspension of expenditures on less critical capital projects such as completion of the town square and the bike park, and to explore temporary drawdowns from reserve funds where possible. In terms of some longer term goals, to review programs and administrative efficiencies, ensure all project and program proposals include an estimated annual cost, the funding source, whether the project is state mandated, it's related to health and safety, or if it's discretionary in nature. To establish a general fund reserve and to replenish the water and sewer funds to the stated goals. And then, of course, there's to actively pursue economic development opportunities. In terms of some next steps, I would encourage the council to receive any additional comments from ad hoc committee members and then have council discussion in order to provide direction to staff so that we can finalize the fiscal year 25-26 budget with the aim of returning to council with a finalized budget by a specified date, no later than December 23rd, but perhaps sooner. And the goal, of course, is to ensure stable funding and expenditure levels, allowing for the continuation of city services and fulfillment of financial obligations. I'm certainly open to any questions and feedback to refine and suggestions to improve the overall budget plan. Thank you.